I've been getting a lot of questions in streams and YouTube comments around common skips utilised in Division 2 speedruns which allow a range of different outcomes, from preventing in-game helicopters to spawn altogether to starting a mission with a teammate already in the mission. These skips are common knowledge amongst the speedrun community, but seemingly totally unknown outside of it. In this video, I'll endeavour to change that by giving a walkthrough of recreating the 3 most commonly used skips and detailing their respective pros and cons. Before we get into it, I just want to say a massive thank you for all of the support you've been giving me recently, both on YouTube and Twitch. It's very much appreciated. If you're new here, please consider giving this video a like, a comment, and follow me on YouTube and Twitch to stay up to date. Finally, I've left links to everyone who had a part in finding any of these skips in the description. With that said, let's get into it. The first skip I'm going to cover has been dubbed Super Drag. This was a skip originally used only in mission speedruns, but later more widely popularised due to its potential to save huge time in raid speedruns. Correct execution of this skip results in everyone except the mission or raid leader spawning into the activity way ahead of the intended start point, which can allow for time saves in a range of ways, from being able to preempt and insta-kill enemies as they spawn, to just saving some time that you'd usually be running. The setup for this skip is simple on paper, but can be hard to execute in practice. To correctly carry it out, I'll break it down. I'm going to assign some names to simplify explanation. We'll assume a 2-player group and call the 2 players leader and inside player. Firstly, the full team will run through the mission or raid to reach the checkpoint that they want the inside player to spawn at. Note that this can be any checkpoint in the mission or raid, but Super Drag is preferably used at checkpoints close to the beginning, for the sole reason that the leader will need to solo the mission in the run up to the point where the inside player is located. Once the desired checkpoint has been reached, both players can stop and get ready for the next step. In the next step, 2 things are going to take place at roughly the same time. Firstly, the inside player is going to fast travel to either the mission or the leader, either work, and then very shortly after, the leader is going to reset the activity. If you have a group containing more than 2 players, the theory's the same, but you just have more people doing as the inside player does and fast travelling to the leader or activity. The inconsistency and difficulty of this skip comes solely from the timing of the reset relative to the fast travel, which depends on both hardware and network connection of both players. In a 2-player group, this timing should be pretty consistent, but as you start to add players, you'll notice that it gets tougher. My advice, and the system I personally use in missions, is to have the inside player call travelling and then the leader resets. Once the leader's worked out the timing, they can just delay the reset by that amount to consistently get the drag. In larger group sizes and especially raids, countdowns can be very useful. For Dark Hour speedruns, my team had a 5-0 countdown. All inside players worked out their specific number on the count to travel on, then the leader reset on 0. This gave us semi-consistent results, but still not as consistent as you may think, as you can't predict loading times that well. Let's look at the pros and cons for Super Drag. Firstly, the pros. So rather obviously, you can have someone in position for ad spawns that would otherwise be spread out, saving time in killing them, and you can have someone at the far end of a long running portion, saving time in the running. Now, the cons. Firstly, setup can be inconsistent. Next, some missions will be instantly triggered upon super dragging, i.e. the mission timer starts the second the mission is reset. And finally, each time the mission is reset, the team must run back to the checkpoint they wish to super drag to, losing time actually attempting speedruns. All in all, I'd say that this strat is worth it if you're chasing fine seconds to beat a world record in the appropriate missions, but shouldn't be used if you're just starting out or still perfecting your strategies. It can and will waste huge amounts of time which would have otherwise been spent practicing the run itself. Here are 2 super drag examples from both perspectives with comms included. Checkpoint reached, I think it was down here, yep. Cool. Tell me when.
Traveling. Yep, I'm in.
You're right next to the Grand Washington.
Okay, here we go. That should get their attention.
Yeah.
Cool. Ready.
Okay, travelling.
You're right next to the
Yep,
Grand
got it.
Washington Hotel.
Okay, here we go. That should get their attention. Head to the...
The next skip is probably the one I've seen the most requests for a walkthrough of. This is a skip which works in many different areas in the game and allows you to completely skip any enemy spawns which come from helicopters. This can create substantial time saves, as it means that you're just flat out dealing with a lower number of enemies per mission, meaning you can get to the next room quicker. It's worth noting that currently, the exact cause and steps to recreate this bug do work, but may not cover all variables which make this bug occur. As such, it's possible the setup takes marginally longer currently than it will do in the future. That said, it's no more than 5 to 10 minutes max per chopper, depending on how fast you can clear content and where the chopper is relative to the mission start. So how do you recreate this bug? It's very simple. Firstly, run a mission until the chopper you want to skip starts to spawn. Next, simply open the map and reset that mission. Repeat this until the chopper stops spawning. This will usually take between 3 and 15 resets to work, but once the chopper's been skipped, it will remain skipped for that session no matter what you do. The only thing that will reset it is getting a new session by relogging or joining a friend's session. As I mentioned earlier, this works on some but not all choppers in the game. You can test whether it will work on the chopper you want to skip by simply resetting with the correct timing once or twice. If the chopper is skippable, it should start acting very strangely, flying backwards, appearing from the ground, flying at Mach 50 and so on. Let's look at the pros and cons for chopper skipping. Firstly, the pros. This is a significant time save due to skipped ad spawns and no waiting for choppers to fly in. And also, dependent on the activity, this could make for an easier clear as there are just less ad spawns to deal with. Now, the cons. Firstly, there are potentially long setup times depending on the choppered location relative to the mission start. Next, not all choppers are skippable. And finally, this can be viewed as cheesy by some people dependent on the use case. The final skip I'm going to cover in this video is called Open Doors. I want to make clear that this is not the same open doors bug that appears in Operation Iron Horse. That bug still isn't fully understood and has no clear cause. This open doors strat allows you to glitch any door in the game open so that you can just run through it. This can have an impact on checkpoints, as some door openings are used to trigger ad spawns and make the remainder of the activity you're playing playable, but the only way you can find out for sure whether this is the case is by testing the door you wish to have open. To recreate this bug, it's a similar setup to Super Drag. We'll use the same naming convention for consistency. Both team members will run through the mission to the door they wish to glitch open. At this stage, do not open it. The leader will then open up their minimap and get ready to reset the mission. Once they're ready, the inside player will start opening the door and call reset. The leader will then reset the mission. If the timing is correct on the reset and opening, the door will then be open until the mission is reset again. You can glitch multiple doors using this strat, but you'll need to go back to front through the mission doing one door at a time. Similar to Super Drag, this strat requires running through a mission to reset before you are actually able to speedrun it. As such, many of the pros and cons are the same, and it's only really a strat that should be used to milk small extra time from a mission in an effort to beat a world record. These are the pros and cons for open doors. So firstly, the pros. You can have someone in position for ad spawns that would otherwise be spread on doors which trigger checkpoints. So this was a common use case in Iron Horse before the current open doors bug started appearing. You can also save some time that would otherwise be spent in a door opening animation for those doors that do not trigger checkpoints. Now on to cons. Firstly, the setup can be inconsistent. Next, every time the mission is reset, the team must run back to the door they wish to glitch open, losing time actually attempting runs. And finally, some doors will trigger checkpoints, so may not actually be a time save. Common sense and benchmarking is required to ensure your open door strategy actually saves time. So that's all the skips we'll cover today, that are and have been used in many Division 2 world records. Hopefully you found this interesting and useful, even if you don't directly speedrun missions or raids. If you enjoyed the video, please like, comment and subscribe. You might also want to consider joining our vroom.gg Discord community, which is a non-toxic hub for speedrunners to come together to discuss strats, discuss builds, and celebrate success. If it is something that interests you, I've left a link in the description. Thanks for watching.